Good day. This is Bennett, also known as Jeremiah. Today we're going to talk about 4 different levels of this type of questions. If you're interested in the playlist of general solutions, it is found at the end of this video. It is also found right here on the top right of the screen at the suggested video. So let's begin. So you're given this type of stuff and they ask you to find general solutions. So what do? So notice that we have sign here and we have sign here. The minute we have sign here and sign here, it means whatever is here has no choice but to be equals to whatever is here. Just like if we have 3 to the power of x is equals to 3 to the power of 2, for them to be the same, x has no choice but to be equals to 2. That's why we drop the basis and we equate the exponents, right? So it's the same situation with this stuff in trig. So if we have sign here and sign here, whatever is inside has no choice but to be the same as whatever is inside here, right? So what we're going to do is that we're just going to say 2x minus 10 is equals to x plus 10. So now what you're going to do is that whatever is on the left hand side, you're going to take it as x, and whatever is on the right hand side, you'll take it as a reference angle. Before we continue, let's talk about memorizing the general solutions. So there are 2 different methods. I use this method, which is much easier. So whenever it comes to sign, you'll always say reference angle and 180 minus reference angle. The reason why we're doing this is because sign is positive in the first quadrant and in the second quadrant, right? And we're always going to have this k 360, and we always have to tell them k is an element of integers, or else we'll lose the marks, right? So sign is positive in the first quadrant, so it's reference angle, and it's also positive in the second quadrant, which is 180 minus reference angle. So let's talk about cos. So when it comes to cos, where is cos positive? We know that cos is positive in the first quadrant and in the fourth quadrant, right? So the thing is that this 360 minus theta can actually be written as negative theta, right? Why negative theta? Because notice that when we go this direction, it's positive. When we go backwards, it's negative, right? So in other words, negative theta is in the fourth quadrant. So instead of us writing 360 minus theta, we can actually write negative theta, right? So this is why whenever you see cos negative theta, you will see that the answer is actually positive instead of negative, because negative theta is in the fourth quadrant and cos is positive in the fourth quadrant. So instead of us writing 360 minus theta, we can just write negative theta. So now notice that it's positive in the first quadrant, which is reference angle, and it's positive in the fourth quadrant, which is minus reference angle, right? Instead of saying 360 minus reference angle. However, we do not need to write the 2 equations separately, right? We could just combine them into one. So that's what they did here, right? So we can just say plus or minus reference angle, because it's positive in the first quadrant, which is reference angle, and positive in the fourth quadrant, which is minus reference angle. So whenever you say cos, you can just simply say plus or minus reference angle. It makes things easier. So let's talk about tan. Now where is tan positive? Tan is positive in the first quadrant, which is theta, and in the third quadrant, which is 180 plus theta, right? So first of all, I want you to notice that the period of the tan graph is 180. So it's not 360 like sine and cos. So whenever it's sine and cos, we always say K360. But when it's tan, we always say K180. So this can be forgotten by professionals, right? Even by professionals. So even I used to forget this, right? So another thing I want you to notice is that we only have one equation. Why do we not have 2 equations? Notice it's positive in the first and the third quadrant. So we're supposed to have reference angle plus K 180, and we're also supposed to have 180 plus reference angle plus K 180, right? But why do we have one equation? The reason why we have one equation is because this has a short period. Because it has a short period, it gives you the same answer as the other equation. So there is no need to write the other equation, even though it's correct. We would just be wasting your time, right? Writing the other equation is like writing the same equation again, because it gives you the same answers when you substitute in place of K. So every time you've got tan, it's very simple. All you have to do is just to write reference angle plus K180, and you're done. Alright, just in case, you might be wondering, what if your reference angle is negative? So let's just say you are solving for sine, and then you type arc sine in the calculator, and you get your reference angle as negative 30. What do? if your reference angle is negative, the nice thing about these formulas is that nothing changes. So if your reference angle is negative, if you're dealing with sine, you'll still use these formulas as they are, right? The only thing is that if you get negative 30, do not ignore the negative, substitute it as it is into the reference angle. So I would advise you to pause the video and memorize these formulas, right? And we're going to use them in the following questions. So when it comes to sine, right, we know that sine is equals to, so with sine rather, the formula is reference angle plus k 360, right? And we know that k is an element of integers. And we also have another formula, so the other formula is 180, so we have 180 minus reference angle, k 180 minus reference angle plus k 360, right? And k is an element of integers. So what you'll do is that whatever is on the left hand side, you'll take it as x, and whatever is on the right hand side, you'll take it as reference angle. So notice that this is on the left hand side, right? So we're going to take it as x. So let's do the first formula first. So then this is going to be, so what is x? X is going to be 2x minus 10, right? And then your reference angle is what was on the right hand side, which is x minus 10, or rather x plus 10. So then we're going to have x plus 10 plus k 360, right? And k is an element of integers. Yeah, but let me not just bother writing that. So notice that all I did is that whatever was on the left hand side, I put it in place of x, and whatever was on the right hand side, I put it in place of reference angle, right? So that's what we have so far. So let's simplify the first equation. Let's simplify this. So if I take x to this side of the equation, it's going to become 2x minus x is equals to, if I take 10 that side, I'm going to have 10 plus 10, and then this is k 360. So eventually this is going to be x is equals to 20 plus k 360. So there we have it, our first equation. So let's get our second one. So our second one, we now have to substitute into this equation, right? So let me warn you of something. One thing that we're not allowed to do is that in this situation, you cannot solve for x here. If you solve for x here, you will get your answer wrong. So every time you get this stuff, you are allowed to simplify each individual side, but you are not allowed to take anything to either side of the equation, or else it will come out wrong. So you cannot take anything to either side of the equation. You can also not divide or multiply both sides of the equation. You'll end up getting it wrong. So you are allowed to simplify. For instance, if we had maybe 2 here, you are allowed to say, okay, 2 minus 10 minus 8. So you're allowed to simplify, but you're not allowed to take anything to any side of the equation, right? So what is on your left hand side, you take it as x. Whatever is on the right hand side, you take it as your reference angle. So just have to be careful of that. So notice that I've solved this, but I'm still going to start again. I'm going to take what is on my left hand side, and I'm going to take it as x, and what is on my right hand side, I'm going to take it as reference angle. So x is 2x minus 10, and I want to substitute it into this equation, right? Because sine has 2 of them. So we dealt with this equation already, we got our answer. Now let's deal with this equation. So I'm going to take this and substitute it in place of x. So 2x minus 10. So I'm going to have 2x minus 10 is equals to our reference angle. So our reference angle, we're taking what is on our right as our reference angle, right? So here it says 180 minus reference angle. So then it's going to be 180 minus this stuff, but in brackets. So it's going to be 180 minus, and then it was what was it? It was x, so it was x plus 10. So we're going to say 180 minus x plus 10. So minus x plus 10, and then we're going to say plus k 360. All right, k is an element of integers, but I'm not going to write it. Okay, so then this is going to be 2x minus 10 is equals to, so it's going to be 180 minus. So notice I put this in brackets. Every time we're subtracting something with 2 or more terms, we have to put it in brackets. So then this is going to be minus x minus 10. So we have plus k 360. So then notice that I'm going to take this to the other side of the equation. So it's going to end up being 2x plus x, right? and then I take 10 to the other side of the equation. So now it's going to be 180 minus 10 plus 10, right? This minus 10 is this one, right? And then this one came to this side of the equation, so it became plus 10. So then I have k 360. So minus 10 and 10 cancels out, and here it's 3x. So I've got 3x is equals to 180 plus k 360. And then if I divide all sides by 3, I'm going to have x is equals to 60 plus k 120. So there we have it. K is an element of integers. So this is the second one. So there we have it. So now let's go to level 2.
Just before I continue, if you want to be tutored, whether it is online or physically, whether it is the situation where you're struggling in maths or whether it is the situation where you're good in maths but want perfection, take a screenshot or save these details. Whether you're studying Cambridge, which is the UK curriculum, or whether you're studying NSC, which is the South African curriculum, or IEB, or native courses which start from N1 to N6, or any curriculum you're doing no matter which country you're at, we offer tutorials. We've got lessons and practice sessions 5 days a week. We also give you tests once a week so that we can check your improvement.
Alright, welcome to level 2. So we're given that sin x minus 20 is equals to cos 2x plus 10. So we cannot equate whatever is inside like we did before. We cannot take this and equate them because this time we do not have the same ratio. Here we've got sine, here we've got cos. So if it was sine, or cos, or tan, we could have equated them, right? But this time we cannot equate them. So what should we do? So our goal is to make them the same, right? Is to make them the same so that we can have the right to equate whatever is inside. So I want you to notice something. So notice that if we have sine 90, so notice that sine 90 minus theta is cos theta, right? So sine 90 minus theta is cos theta, meaning that we're going to take this whole thing as though it's theta. This whole thing in bracket, you're going to take it as theta, right? So this method is simple. All you do is that you immediately change this into sine, right? You immediately change it into sine, but when you change it into sine, you put 90. So it's that simple. So all you do is that you immediately change it to sine and you put 90. So here you don't even really have to think. So you're going to say 90 minus the whole thing in brackets, because whenever you are subtracting 2 or more terms, you have to put it in brackets. So this is what we have, because we know that sine 90 minus theta is cos theta. So all you do is that you immediately change it to sine and you put 90. So this method does not require much thinking, right? So notice that I chose to change the right hand side. If we wanted to, we could have instead changed the left hand side. If we changed the left hand side, we could have written it as cos. So we immediately change it, right? So when we change it, we just immediately change it and we put 90 minus, and then we put this in brackets, right? So we take this as theta. So if I chose to change the left hand side, I would have done this, right? So we immediately change it to cos and we put 90. So that's all you do. You immediately change it and you put 90. So it's that simple. But since I chose to change the right hand side, we only can change one so that they can look the same, right? So you can choose to change this one or this one. So I chose to change the right hand side. So let's continue from here. Because if I change the right hand side and I change the left hand side, they'll be different again. So we have to change only one of them so that they can be the same. So now notice that we have got sine and sine. So because they're the same, we have the right to equate whatever is inside, right? So notice that x minus 20 is equals to 90 minus 2x plus 10, right? If you want, you can simplify it already before equating this stuff, right? But notice, even if you equate it, you are still allowed to simplify it, right? It's just that you cannot take anything to either side of the equation. So I'm not going to take 20 that side, or else it's going to come out wrong. So this is going to be 90 minus 2x minus 10, right? And 90 minus 10 is 80. So let me just do this. So you are allowed to simplify each side, but you are not allowed to take anything to either side of the equation. You are also not allowed to multiply or divide both sides. So whatever is on the left hand side, you take it as x, right? So we're just going to take it as x. So now the formula says reference angle plus k. Let's just write it. So we know that x is equals to reference angle plus k 360, right? And k is an element of integers. We have to write it, but I'm not going to write it now. So you take this as your x, right? So this is going to be x minus 20 is equals to, and then what's on the right hand side, you take it as your reference angle. So this is going to be 80 minus 2x plus k 360, right? And k is an element of integers. So we take this to this side of the equation. So now it's going to be, 2x plus x, or x plus 2x, right? So it's the same. We take this to this other side of the equation. We have 80 plus 20 plus k 360, right? So now our final answer will be, okay, it's not our final answer yet. So this is going to be 100 plus k 360. All right. So we have to divide everything by 3. We'll get x is equals to 100 over 3, which is 33.33 plus k 180 rather. So we're dividing exactly everything. So 120, and k is an element of integers. So this is our first equation, right? So now our second equation, we have to substitute it into x is equals to 180 minus reference angle. So this is going to be, of course, plus k 360, and k is an element of integers. Okay, let me just write it. So notice that whatever was on the left hand side, we took it as x, right? We have to take it as x. You have to start the process again, right? You don't take the answers from here. It will come out wrong if you do that. So you have to start the process again. Whatever's on the left hand side, you take it as x. Whatever is on the right hand side, you take it as reference angle. So it's going to be 180 minus, notice we're taking this whole thing as reference angle. So you have to put it in brackets, because when you're subtracting 2 or more terms, you have to put it in brackets. So this is going to be plus k 360. Alright, so let's simplify this equation. So this is going to be 180 minus 80. So this is going to be 100 plus 2x, right? So this is going to be x minus 20. But if I take 2x, this side is going to be x minus 2x, right? And then this 20, if I take it to this side of the equation, it's going to be 100 plus 20. So plus k 360. Alright, so now x minus 2x is minus x. 100 plus 20 is 120. So plus k 360. So let's divide everything by negative. When we divide everything by negative, we're going to end up having x is equals to negative 120 plus k 360. So you might be wondering, why did I put a plus, right? Why is it that I divided everything by negative, but I left this as plus? The sign in front of k actually does not matter, whether you put plus or minus, or whether you even put both of them plus or minus, right? So let me do this. So some students actually put plus or minus, right? So whether you put plus or whether you put minus or plus or minus, it's still correct, because k is an element of integers. You can substitute 1 or negative 1 and stuff. So you will still come up with the same answers whether you put plus or minus, right? So the sign in front of k does not matter. What actually matters is if you're dividing everything by 3, for instance, then you have to divide this by 3, right? But the sign actually does not matter. This does not matter whether it's positive or negative, as long as k is an element of integers. So let's proceed. Alright, here is the third level. So notice that we've got tan and tan. But the problem that we have is that one is positive and the other one is negative. So how do we solve this? And we cannot divide both sides by negative, because the negative will end up shifting and coming to this side. So what do? Whenever you've got negative, you have to focus on the one that is negative. So you have to ask, what produces negative tan? So notice that tan is positive in the first quadrant and in the third quadrant, right? But it's negative in the second quadrant and in the fourth quadrant. So what you have to do is that you have to ask yourself, what produces negative tan? So what produces negative tan is the fourth quadrant and the second quadrant, right? So the second and fourth quadrant. So we have got two choices. You can choose any. Both of them will be correct. So I'm going to choose the second quadrant. So the method is the same. What you're going to do is that you're going to immediately change it. So you immediately change it to tan, and then you just put 180 minus. So 180 minus, and you take this as theta, right? You put it in brackets, because whenever you're subtracting 2 or more terms, you have to put it in brackets. Alright, so now let's just write everything here the same. So this is 2x plus 10. So now we have the right to equate whatever's inside because these two are the same, right? But for now, let me just simplify whatever is inside. So let's just simplify it. So now this is going to be 10. So now we have 180 minus 20, right? So this is going to be 180 minus 20 if we break the brackets, right? So it's going to be 160. And then this is minus x, right? So notice that because we have tan and tan, we have the right to equate whatever's inside. So it therefore means that 2x plus 10 is equals to 160 minus x. So whatever's on my left hand side, I take it as x. Whatever's on my right hand side, I take it as reference angle. So now the nice thing about tan is that it only has one formula, right? So x is equals to reference angle plus k180. Tan has only one equation. That's what makes it interesting. So this will take it as x. So let's just do this. So this will take it as x. So it's going to be 2x plus 10. So we have 2x plus 10 is equals to 100, rather 160. So we have 160 minus x plus k180. And k is an element of integers. So now, if I take x this side, it's going to be 2x plus x. If I take 10 this side, it's going to be 160 minus 10. So plus k180. Alright, so this is going to be 3x is equals to 170 plus k180. Alright, so now here when we divide everything by 3, we're going to have x is equals to, let me just write it as 170 over 3, but you can write it in decimals and round off to 2 decimal places. So then this is going to be k times 60. So it's going to be k times 60. And k is an element of integers. So there we have it. Alright, welcome to the final level of this video.
Just before I continue, if you're interested in knowing the prices of the tutorials, the video that contains the prices and the updated contact details just in case these ones have changed is found at the end of this video.
So if you observe this, we have cos and sine. We know that we have to make them the same. Another problem that we have is that this one is positive, this one is negative. So what do we do in this case? So you have to think of what produces negative sign. So of course we can look at the quadrants and say what produces negative sign is quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. But we have a problem. Even if we change it, it won't become cos. So there are two ways of there are two things that produces negative sign. Number one, it's in the quadrant. Number two, remember these identities, right? So these ones, we know them. It's obvious. Sine 90 minus theta is cos theta, and cos 90 minus theta is sine theta. Sine 90 plus theta is in the second quadrant, right? So in the second quadrant, we have got 90 plus an extra angle, right? So in the second quadrant, sine is positive. So when it changes to cos, it remains positive, right? So hence we've got cos theta. And in the second quadrant again, cos this time is negative, right? So because cos is negative, cos 90 plus theta will produce negative sine, right? So these were the other two identities to memorize, that sine 90 plus theta is cos theta, but cos 90 plus theta is negative sine theta, right? So there are two ways of getting negative sine theta, right? We don't only get them by this diagram, right? By the cast diagram, but we also get them by correlations. We also get negative sine theta by correlations, right? So whenever you see a negative sine theta, you have to choose which one will be beneficial, to change it into 180 plus and 360 minus, or to change it into cos 90 plus. So we know that we have to use cos 90 plus because we've got cos this side, right? So now this is going to end up being, so you immediately change it, right? So you immediately change it, and then this is going to become cos 90 plus. So we've got cos 90 plus, you take this as theta. There is no need for bracket because we've got a plus, right? So but let me just put brackets for now because we have this negative. So then we've got this stuff, right? So whatever's on the left hand side remains the same, and then this becomes, because we chose to change what's on the right hand side. Besides, if you wanted to change what is on the left hand side, it will be a complicated procedure. The easier one to change is the negative. So whenever you've got this situation, always focus on the negative. And then here, when we simplify it, so let me just get the final answer immediately. So we're going to have 90 minus 10, which is 80, right? And so we have 80 minus 2x. So there we have it. So now we have cos and cos. So now we can equate whatever is inside because we have cos and cos, right? So we have the right to equate whatever is inside. So then this is 80, so we have 80 minus 2x. So what is on the left hand side, I take it as x. What is on the right hand side, I take it as reference angle. Now remember the formula of cos is x is equals to plus or minus reference angle plus k 360, right? So what do you do in this case? Well, in this case you split it. We'll first do the positive version. So we take this as x, right, as before. So we're going to say reference angle, which is 80 minus 2x plus k 360. So when we take 2x to this side, it's going to be minus x plus 2x. This is equals to 80 minus 10. So 80 minus 10, and then we're going to have 360, right? So then this is going to end up being x is equals to 70 plus k 360. So that's the first one, right? So now we're going to use the negative version of this stuff. So we're going to say the same thing. We take this as x, right? So it's going to be minus x plus 10, right? So this x is equals to minus reference angle, but because there are two terms, we have to put the whole thing in brackets. So be careful of that, right? So we have to put the whole thing in brackets. So now we have minus reference angle plus k 360, and then from here this becomes minus x plus 10 is equals to minus 80. So we're going to have minus 80 plus 2x plus k 360, and then let's go forward. So of course we have to put k as an element of integers and stuff, or else you lose marks. So now we take this, so it's going to be minus x minus 2x is equals to minus 80 minus 10 plus k 360, and then this is going to be minus 3x is equals to minus 80 minus 10, which is minus 90. So we have something that is easy to divide by 3. We can put negative, there's no problem there, but I'm just choosing to leave it as positive. The signs does not matter. So if I divide everything, matter of fact, I didn't yet divide everything, my mind is ahead. So if I divide everything by negative 3, we're going to have, this is going to become 30, right? So it's going to become 30. Then we can put this as negative, or we can leave it like that. I choose to leave it like that. So then this is going to be okay, 360 divided by 3, we have 120, right? So this is what we have, and then we have it. This is our equation, right?
Alright, we have reached the end of this video. I have included a playlist of similar type of questions. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Any questions you've got or any video you want me to create, please comment below. See you in the next video.